First Contact Protocol. The stars had always been silent to humanity. Despite centuries of searching, listening, and hoping, the vast cosmos had never answered our calls. But in the shadows of public knowledge, Earth had been preparing. Not out of hope, but out of caution. Project Helios began in 2042, when the first genuine anomalies were detected at the edge of our solar system. Unexplained gravitational shifts. Brief flickers of energy signatures unlike anything humanity had cataloged. While the public remained fixated on climate restoration and the early Mars colonies, a coalition of nations quietly funded the most ambitious defense initiative in human history. Dr. Elena Reyes stood at the main viewport of Observation Station Omega, her dark eyes reflecting the pinpricks of distant stars. At 53, she had dedicated over half her life to Project Helios. Her hands, worn from decades of work but steady as ever, clasped behind her back as she addressed the small group of military and scientific personnel. "They're here," she said simply. General Weizong, commander of Earth's Unified Defense Forces, stepped forward. "You're certain?" Elena nodded, gesturing to the holographic display. 7 vessels. Massive energy signatures. They've taken position just beyond lunar orbit. The display showed objects that dwarfed anything humanity had built. The largest was nearly 5 kilometers in length, flanked by 6 smaller but still imposing vessels. They had appeared with no warning, simply materializing from what sensors indicated was some form of spatial displacement technology. First Contact Protocol is active, Wei stated, his voice level despite the gravity of the moment. All nations have been notified. The Security Council is assembling. Orbital defense platforms are on standby but passive. Elena studied the alien vessels. Their design was distinctly non-human. Angular structures interspersed with curved, almost organic components. They haven't transmitted anything yet. They will, Wei replied. They didn't come all this way to admire the view. As if on cue, communication systems throughout Earth simultaneously activated. Every screen, from personal devices to public displays, flickered to show the same image. The being on screen was humanoid but clearly alien. Gray-blue skin stretched over an elongated skull. 4 eyes, arranged in a diamond pattern, blinked independently. When it spoke, its mouth moved in unsettling asymmetry to the words. "People of Earth, I am Supreme Commander Kazari of the Corsarian Empire. Your world has been identified as a developing system with resources valuable to our expansion. We require the following tribute: 30% of your world's refined metals, 20% of your freshwater reserves, access to your genetic databases, and 10,000 human specimens for study and labor." The alien paused, its upper eyes narrowing. "You have 12 Earth hours to comply. Coordinates for delivery will follow. Resistance will result in the demonstration of our power upon your most populated areas. This is not a negotiation." The transmission ended, leaving billions in stunned silence. In the United Nations emergency session, chaos erupted. Representatives from 196 nations shouted over each other as Secretary General Amara Okafor struggled to maintain order. "We cannot possibly meet these demands," the representative from Brazil exclaimed. "If we don't, they'll attack civilian populations," countered the Japanese delegate. "Their technology is clearly far beyond ours." Elena and Wei entered silently, taking seats at the back of the chamber. They had expected this. Fear, division, panic. It was the natural human response. But they had prepared for this moment for decades. Amara spotted them and called for silence. "Dr. Rice, General Zhang, your assessment." Elena approached the podium. A hush fell over the room. Though few knew the details of Project Helios, all knew Elena's reputation as the architect of Earth's most classified defense initiatives. "The Corsarian vessels are indeed advanced," she began, her voice calm. "Their energy signatures suggest technology approximately 200 years beyond our publicly acknowledged capabilities." The emphasis on publicly acknowledged wasn't lost on those present. However, she continued, We believe their scans of Earth are superficial. They see our commercial satellites, our public infrastructure, our visible military assets. They've made assumptions based on incomplete data. What are you suggesting? The Russian representative asked. Elena exchanged a glance with Y before answering. I'm suggesting we decline their offer. The room erupted again until Amara called for order. Decline. The Chinese representative stood. Dr. Reyes, with all due respect, we've seen their ships. One appears to be nearly 5 kilometers long. Our largest vessel is barely 200 meters. Size isn't everything, Elena replied, a hint of a smile touching her lips. The Corsarians expect submission because they believe we lack the means to resist. That's the advantage of keeping our true capabilities hidden. Wei stepped forward. Project Helios was designed for exactly this scenario. We've spent 30 years preparing not to match alien technology, but to counter it based on fundamental principles of physics that apply throughout the universe. You're asking us to gamble the lives of billions on a secret weapon. The American representative's voice carried a mixture of hope and skepticism. No, Elena corrected. I'm telling you we already made that gamble, decades ago. Now we see if it pays off. 2 hours later, Earth transmitted its response. No grand speech, no emotional appeals. Just Elena, standing alone, delivering humanity's answer. This is Dr. Elena Reyes representing the unified nations of Earth. We have received your demands and decline. We request that you leave our solar system immediately. On the Corsarian command vessel, Supreme Commander Xeri stared at the human female on the screen, his 4 eyes blinking in astonishment. They decline, he asked, turning to his science officer. Science Officer Velm consulted her data screens. Confirmed, Commander. The message contains no counteroffer, no plea for mercy. Just refusal. Xeri's secondary arms twitched in irritation. Is it possible they misunderstood the consequences? Unlikely, Velm replied. Our translation matrices are precise. They understand we will attack their population centers. Fleet Captain Moraes approached the command days. It could be a bluff. Scans show their military technology is primitive. They have rudimentary fusion weapons, basic energy shields for their largest installations, and minimal space combat capability. Then their response is irrational. Xeri concluded. Prepare the demonstration weapon. Target their largest city complex, the eastern seaboard of their northern continent. Commander, Velm interjected, I'm detecting unusual energy readings from multiple locations on the planet. Xeri waved a dismissive hand. Probably their primitive defense systems activating. Nothing that can threaten this fleet. The patterns are unusual, Velm persisted. They don't match any known weapon signature in our database. All the more reason to crush their resistance quickly, Xeri responded. Send the targeting data to all ships. We'll make an example of Earth that the next 10 worlds in our expansion path will remember. Back on Earth, Elena and Wei stood in the heart of the Helios Command Center, buried 2 kilometers beneath the Rocky Mountains. Similar facilities had been activated across the planet. Under the Amazon rainforest, the Antarctic ice shelf, the Sahara Desert, and the Pacific Ocean floor. All Helios nodes report ready, the operations officer announced. Gravitational lensing systems aligned. Solar collector arrays at full capacity. We looked at Elena. 30 years, he said quietly. She nodded. 30 years of hiding our true progress. Disguising quantum entanglement communications as radio signals. Concealing our energy production capabilities. Making them think we're just beginning to harness fusion when we've moved beyond it. A necessary deception, Wei replied. If they knew what we could really do. Elena turned to the command console. They're about to find out. Initiate Helios protocol. Across Earth, hidden technologies awakened. Not the brute force weapons aliens might expect, but something far more sophisticated. Humanity had long ago realized that competing with advanced species on their terms would be futile. Instead, they had developed technologies that weaponize the fundamental forces of nature itself. The Helios system didn't fire missiles or energy beams. It manipulated space-time, creating a gravitational lens of unprecedented precision. The energy of Earth's sun, thousands of times more powerful than anything the Corsarians could generate, was about to be focused with surgical precision. On the Corsarian flagship, alarms suddenly blared. "Commander," Vilne shouted, her voice tight with alarm. "Massive gravitational distortion forming. The humans err. Evasive maneuvers." Sari ordered, but it was already too late. The stars seemed to bend around Earth as space itself warped. For a brief moment, a fraction of the sun's output was channeled into a concentrated point aimed directly at the Corsarian flagship. The result was as beautiful as it was terrible. The massive vessel didn't explode. It simply came apart at the molecular level, its matter scattered across space in a brilliant display of light. The remaining Corsarian ships reeled in shock. Their sensors struggled to comprehend what had just happened. Their mightiest warship, capable of reducing a planet's surface to molten slag, had been destroyed in seconds by a civilization they had dismissed as primitive. Additional gravitational distortions forming. A tactical officer on one of the remaining ships reported frantically. "They're targeting all vessels." Fleet Captain Morris, now the highest-ranking officer, made the only possible decision. "All ships, emergency jump. Retreat from this system immediately." As the Corsarian vessels frantically engaged their faster-than-light drives, Alina watched the sensor readings with quiet satisfaction. "They're running," Wei observed. Elena nodded. "As they should. Humanity doesn't want war. We never did. But we've always understood that in a universe of predators, only the most dangerous prey survives." The test of fire. The Corsarian High Council chamber had never seen such disorder. 12 of the Empire's most powerful leaders shouted over one another as Fleet Captain Morris, now acting commander after Ktari's death, stood at the center, his posture rigid despite his exhaustion. Silence. Emperor Extort's voice cut through the chaos. The ancient Corsarian skin had faded to almost white with age, but his authority remained absolute. "Captain Morris, explain again how a pre-interstellar civilization destroyed our flagship and drove off 6 battle cruisers." Morris gestured to the holographic display. "The humans concealed their true technological capabilities. Your Eminence, our intelligence indicated they were a standard Class 3 civilization. Early fusion power, limited space travel within their own system, conventional weaponry. This assessment was deliberately reinforced by their visible infrastructure." Science Minister Vela stepped forward. "The weapon they deployed was unlike anything in our records. Analysis suggests they created a gravitational lens of extraordinary precision, effectively weaponizing their star." "Impossible," General Korth scoffed. "Such technology would require energy manipulation beyond even our capabilities." And yet, Emperor Extort said quietly, "Ktari and 5,000 crew are dead. The Indomitable, our most powerful warship, is reduced to scattered atoms." His 4 eyes fixed on Morris. "What do we know of these humans now?" Morus activated a new display. "We've been analyzing all available data. The humans have maintained a carefully crafted facade. What we thought were primitive communication systems conceal quantum networks. Their visible energy production is a fraction of their actual capability. Most significantly, they've unified their planet in ways invisible to casual observation." "Explain," the Emperor demanded. "Their political divisions appear genuine, but beneath them exists perfect cooperation on defense. Project Helios, the weapon system that destroyed our ship, has installations on every continent, perfectly coordinated. This suggests decades of unified purpose hidden beneath a veneer of disunity." The Emperor leaned back, his secondary arms twitching in a gesture of deep thought. "Clever. They knew someone would come eventually. Rather than announcing their capabilities, they concealed them. A species that thinks in terms of centuries, not election cycles, Vela noted. Rare and dangerous, General Korth added. If they can destroy our most powerful ship, what else might they be capable of? The Emperor rose. We misjudged these humans. They are not prey. They are potential rivals, or worse. On Earth, celebrations were tempered by vigilance. The Korzarian retreat had bought time, but everyone understood the threat wasn't over. Elena stood before the United Nations General Assembly, now expanded to include representatives from the Mars and lunar colonies. The Helios system performed beyond expectations, she reported, but we should be under no illusions. We've revealed our hand. The next encounter will be different. Secretary General Okafor nodded gravely. The Korzarians will return. Perhaps not immediately, Elena replied. But they or others will come. The universe has noticed us now. General Wei stepped forward. Phase 2 of planetary defense is already underway. The Aegis Shield will complement Helios, providing protection against a wider range of threats. A representative from the African Union stood. Dr. Rice, you've led Project Helios for 30 years. What do you believe comes next? Elena looked out at the assembly, the leaders of a humanity that had faced its first extraterrestrial threat and survived. For centuries, we debated whether we were alone in the universe, she began. When we accepted we weren't, we asked whether we would be welcomed as equals or treated as resources. Now we have our answer. The galaxy is not a community, it's a wilderness. And in the wilderness, only those who can defend themselves earn respect. She activated a holographic display showing Earth and its neighboring worlds. We've successfully hidden our true capabilities once. We won't have that advantage again. Now, we must advance openly. The Sol System Defense Initiative will expand Helios technology throughout our system. Mars, Europa, Titan, all will become fortified outposts. You're suggesting militarization of the entire solar system, the Canadian representative observed. I'm suggesting survival, Elena corrected. The Korzarians believed they could take what they wanted because we lacked the means to stop them. They were wrong, but others might try. We need to ensure that no species ever again believes Earth is an easy target. 6 months later, a Korzarian diplomatic vessel approached Earth orbit. Unlike the intimidating warships of the first encounter, this was a sleek, obviously unarmed craft. It maintained position at the designated coordinates, making no move to approach further without permission. Elena and Wei watched from Orbital Station Liberty as the vessel waited patiently. Quite a change in approach, Wei noted. Elena nodded. Amazing how respect improves diplomatic protocol. The communication request came through exactly on schedule. The face that appeared on screen was Korzarian, but the body language, visible in the positioning of all 4 eyes and the relaxed secondary arms, conveyed deference. Greetings, representatives of Earth. I am Ambassador Telver of the Korzarian Empire. I come with the Emperor's authorization to establish formal diplomatic relations between our civilizations. Elena smiled slightly, a significant change from demanding tribute. The ambassador's upper eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of embarrassment in Korzarian physiology. The actions of Commander Xari were regrettable. The Empire acknowledges Earth as a sovereign power and seeks peaceful engagement. We are always open to peaceful relationships, Elena replied, provided they're based on mutual respect. Of course, Telvor agreed quickly. To demonstrate our sincerity, I am authorized to share information about other spacefaring civilizations in this sector of the galaxy. Knowledge that might prove valuable to Earth as it emerges onto the galactic stage. The implication was clear. The Korzarians were offering intelligence as a peace offering. We leaned forward. We're listening. The information provided by Ambassador Telver proved invaluable. The galaxy, it seemed, was divided between several major powers and dozens of smaller civilizations. The Korzarian Empire was substantial but not dominant. Other forces, the Axloni Confederation, the Tyrillian hierarchy, and the Mithril Collective maintained a tense balance of power. Earth, with its demonstrated capability to weaponize a star, had instantly gained notice. Reports indicated that the destruction of the Corsarian flagship had sent shockwaves through galactic diplomatic channels. A previously unknown species with technology that could destroy capital ships with surgical precision was not something any civilization could ignore. 3 years after first contact, humanity had established outposts beyond the solar system. The lessons learned from the Corsarian encounter had transformed human civilization. The false divisions maintained as camouflage had given way to genuine unity of purpose. Nations still existed, cultures still thrived in their diversity, but humanity moved forward with a shared vision. Elena, now nearing 60, stood on the observation deck of the newly completed diplomatic station in orbit around Europa. Representatives from 7 alien civilizations had gathered for the first Galactic Diplomatic Congress ever hosted by humanity. We joined her, his uniform now bearing the insignia of Earth Fleet Command. "Not bad for a species that was being asked for tribute a few years ago," he remarked. Elena watched as the alien delegates interacted cautiously with human representatives. "They respect us now. Not because we're stronger. Many of them still have larger fleets and older civilizations. They respect us because we demonstrated that we cannot be taken by surprise or intimidated." The silent sentinel approach. Wei nodded. "Your vision saved us, Elena." She shook her head. "Not my vision. Humanity's vision. For centuries, we looked to the stars with hope, but prepared with caution. We wanted to believe in a peaceful galaxy, but built Helios just in case. That balance between optimism and preparedness, that's humanity's true strength." Ambassador Telver approached, his formerly blue-gray skin now bearing the ceremonial gold markings of a senior imperial envoy. "Dr. Rice, General Zhang." He greeted them formally. "The Tyrillian ambassador is quite impressed with your gravitational engineering. I believe they're interested in discussing possible technological exchange." "We'll be over shortly," Elena replied. As Telver departed, she turned back to the viewport, gazing at Jupiter looming large beyond Europa's curve. "When I was a child, I dreamed of meeting aliens," she said quietly. "I imagined them arriving in peace, sharing knowledge, welcoming us to a galactic community." Reality proved more complicated, Wei observed. "Reality always does," Elena agreed. "But we found our place, not through naivety or aggression, but through strength paired with restraint. We didn't fire the first shot. We didn't seek conquest. We simply refused to be conquered." She watched as human and alien diplomats exchanged ideas across the chamber, the future of interstellar relations taking shape before her eyes. "In the end," she said, "that may be humanity's greatest contribution to the galaxy, teaching even ancient empires that true civilization begins when worlds speak as equals." Beyond the station, the stars beckoned. Humanity had passed its first test of fire. The silent sentinel had spoken, and the galaxy had listened.